Alright, Connected Horsemanship students, here's your Riding 101. Some of the basic things that we go through at the beginning of your lessons. And I just wanted to put together a little video for you so you can go over it at home and remind you of what your cues are, and you can also see what it's supposed to look like. We'll start out with your disengage the hindquarters. This is also sometimes called a one-rein stop or an emergency stop. This is what shuts down your horse's engine. So if you ever find yourself in a troubled spot, this is what you want to do. So we practice it a lot. You want to slide one hand down the rein as much as you can, but stay sitting upright. If you were to be on a horse that took off or something and you lean forward to get your rein, you're probably going to fall off. So you want to stay sitting upright and slide one hand as much down the reins as you can. Bring the horse's nose all the way around. You want your hand to stay in front of you. You can go to your leg if you like, or you can come up to your belly button, but you never want to come behind you. When you bring your rein behind you, see how I twist? Again, if you're on a horse that's taken off and you twist like this and they turn, you're probably falling off the other side. So you want to stay sitting up, bring your horse's head around, staying with your hand in front of you or at your leg in front is fine. A little bit of inside leg comes on. Now notice how her inside front leg is staying in about the same spot, and her hind end, her inside leg, is crossing over. And I'll show you the same on the other side. You want the inside front leg to stay in about the same spot, and you want the inside hind leg to cross over. So I'm going to go ahead and reach around the other side, and same thing. Good girl. So from there, you're moving your hind end, and your front end staying. Now we'll do our turn on the haunches, which is also the basic foundation for if you were to go into spins and rollbacks and those sorts of things. And that's going to be the opposite. You want the haunches to stay and the front end's going to move. The outside front leg should cross over the inside front leg. You want your horse bent the direction you're going, and you want the inside hind to stay in about the same spot. It doesn't have to it's called a pivot foot. It doesn't have to stay in the exact spot, but about in that general area. So I'm going to get a little bit of a bend to the left, and I'm going to look the direction I'm going, and my reins are going to come towards that inside hip, and I'm going to bump with my reins and my leg, and bump, 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 bump. So see, I'm bumping. After that inside front steps, I'm going to bump and cue this inside front leg. And you almost want to think of your turn on the haunches as the smallest possible circle you could ever do. So that last one there I did from a stop, and I'll go ahead and show it to you from a walk as well. Sometimes it helps, especially when you're teaching horses to do this, just to imagine going in a circle and winding it down and down and down, smaller and smaller, until it's just so small that the horse's hind stays and the front moves. So on this side, I'll go ahead and show it to you from a circle. And my hands, when I go to do the turn on the haunches, are going to come back towards this hip. Not so much out to the side and not back to myself, right in the middle. So I'm going to circle down, smaller and smaller, and then I'm going to bump, bump, bump. And I've got my outside leg and my reins together. Bump, bump, just like that. Now for your backup, you're going to sit up tall and straight, bring your calves in, get the horse on the bit, and then you're just going to lift your reins a little bit and come back with her, rocking with her, rock your hips, real slow. You don't want to be wishing-washing around. Your hips should always match your horse's hips and vice versa. So you're just going to rock real slow back together. Good. Good girl. Now eventually when you get to your leg yield and side pass, it's going to be, you've already gotten where you're moving the hind and you've got where you're moving the front. Now you're just going to put them together. The leg yield and side pass are almost about the same thing, except the leg yield is going to be at a walk and your side pass is sideways at a stop. So we'll go ahead and show the leg yield. I'll go away from the camera for the first one and then turn around and come back. So I've got my horse bent the opposite direction. So I've got it bent to the left. I'm going to overweight my right stirrup. Left leg comes on. that the purpose of your reins, you don't want to push your horse over. Your reins, you want to keep your horse straight. So I've got a little bend to the right, overweight the left stirrup, right leg comes on, and see how she's crossing over in the hind? And I can use my reins to keep her straight because I don't want her front to turn that way. I want her whole body to go together. Good. And when I talk about using your weight, because your horse always moves under your weight, you never want it to be leaning in your shoulders. You don't want to be leaning this way or leaning this way. It's all just in your hips. Your shoulders should pretty much stay upright, and you should just lean into that stirrup this way or lean into that stirrup this way. If you lean here, you're going to throw yourself off and throw your horse off. So then your side pass is basically the same cues, you just got to stop instead. So you'll have a little more rein on to keep your horse from walking forward. Overweight the right stirrup just a little bit, left leg comes on, looking where I'm going, a little bend to the left. Good. Okay, and then same thing the other way. So change my weight, change my leg, change where I'm looking. So I'm keeping her straight. I'm going to ask for a little more hind because she got a little crooked there. So I'm just going to bring my leg back. There, much better. Good girl. Now, in your beginning of all of this, you want to make sure your horse is soft to the bit. That can be really difficult at first, but we usually start with it pretty early on, so you just work on getting the feel, but it takes a lot of practice. Just developing what it feels like. But I'll go ahead and show you. When you go to ask your horse to soften to the bit, eyes up, nose up, chin up, chest up, tailbone deep into your saddle, long legs, choke up your reins, calves come in, just like that, and release. And as soon as your horse softens, and you'll feel it in your reins, you don't want to look at him, you want to feel it. As soon as your horse softens, you're going to release your leg and your reins. So that's your Riding 101 tips, and we'll see you at your next lesson.
Let that be counter.